Yo, what's happening, world? Name's Raheem Flowers, and I saw this on my recommendation the other day with G Herbo, or Little Herb, and if you want to call him by his government name, Herbert Wright. And he's basically speaking about his success and his come up, basically his rags to riches story. Now, this is a interesting video for me to be doing because me and Herb are from the same city. We're both born and raised in Chicago. Granted, he grew up in the hood. I didn't. He's from a place called Over East. That's where he grew up, which is really a part of the South Side, but that's a debate that they like to have. Point is, I grew up around a lot of cats like Herb, who had those street ties, those connects. Now he talks about No Limit and MLB or Never Leave My Brothers and all that other stuff, which is a faction of the Black P Stones. And what's interesting about the Black P Stones is the leader, known as Jeff Fort, was a man who was engaged in the Moorish Science Temple type of lifestyle. And he actually called his gangs the El Rukins, even though they were also known as like the Stone Rangers or something at one point, and then ended up becoming the Black P Stones, and thus, once Jeff Fort was incarcerated, became domestic terrorists, and now you see all these chaotic, bastardized bastard children come up in the world. And even though Herb is a lot more level-headed than a lot of those dudes, he's also an extension of what I'm referring to with domestic terrorists. Although him and little Bibby, have more of a head on their shoulder, but fact remains. I remember one time when he was on that fuckboy Drew Vlad's platform rather, he was talking about he had a Lord of the Flies mentality, basically. So if Jeff Fort or Larry Hoover got out of prison, that wouldn't make a difference because they only know the stories and of Jeff Fort and Larry Hoover, and they're just seen as basically urban legends. And he was like, "You can't tell me shit." That came out of that young man's mouth. That's what it is, though, man. These are just a bunch of Lord of the Fly ass kids, and we talking about people who are preteens, young boys, flashing guns and flexing and talking about shooting ops. Barely made it out the sandbox. Let's see what Herbert Wright had to say from his rags to riches story. From niggas to God, so to speak. Oh, and what I also found interesting is Herb actually decided to do this motivational speech down there in Minnesota, which it's between California and Minnesota, which one is the most has the most white liberals and infested with them. Because I'd argue that it's between Minnesota and Cali. That's like the mecca for white liberals. Probably Cali because it's bigger, but the energy there you can't ignore. So let's see where things go from here.
Still swerving. Herb, y'all got it.
Hey, y'all, we did have a straight A student last year. Hey, we did have 2 straight A students last semester.
Who got straight A's?
Young Karan.
I had straight A's and all this stuff.
Oh, and for anybody, just a little background. Herb actually went to a decent area in high school before he dropped out, in Hyde Park and Kenwood. Compared to where he's from, it's a decent area. I know, because my dad used to take me and my brother there back in the day when he used to go to the mosque right there on 47th around Hyde Park and Kenwood. But yeah, let's hear what else Herbert has to say before I make any additional commentary.
Hey, A's are great. So you gotta keep going,
Hey, can I get y'all to get a picture for me? Take a picture and just send it.
I gotta run a line.
I was
Let him sign.
Hey, oh no. K-A. K-A-R-O.
Look. You might as well throw me in a music video. I ain't gonna lie. Throw Baby Juju in there. I ain't gonna lie. Look, I'm gonna just say this. Bro, you only gonna get as far in life as you wanna go, bro. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like, you gotta stay focused, bro. Steph Curry go to sleep at 9 o'clock.
I agree with the brother on that, though. You do gotta stay focused on whatever you want to do in life, whatever you're pursuing. I, for one, have been doing it for the last 2-3 years since the moment I started to make these videos back in 2016. So he's definitely right, man. It takes years to develop yourself, and then you start to find yourself, and then once you start to cultivate those abilities, boom, everything else starts to follow suit. So I do agree with Herb on that note.
At night with his wife, wake up 6 in the morning, go to practice. If you want to do anything in life, I don't know y'all from a can of paint, man, but I'm just saying, I'm only here in front of y'all right now because I made a decision to say I'm gonna focus 100% of my time on music and where I want to.
Hold on, though. See, that's where Herb fucked up. He said that he put 100% of his time on music. So how could you be drilling and focusing 100% of your time on music? You don't have time to be doing no drill shit, no kill shit. As you said in the song back in, 2012? You don't have time to do that. And you know what's funny? I grew up going to school with a bunch of vice lords and four corner hustlers, and I seen how a lot of these females will latch on to these dudes. And Herb is of a similar ilk. And growing up in a place like Chicago or LA or anywhere that's gang infested, being a stand-up dude, especially being a so-called black man who's a stand-up dude, that shit don't get you far if you're trying to be popular, but popularity shouldn't even matter. Point is, there's a affinity for dysfunction and chaos, which Herb and the rest of that drill movement promotes. Maybe I'll admit Herb doesn't do it as much and he articulates himself better than most of those drill rappers you see. But facts remains, these niggas are lovers of chaos. They'd rather see a lot of these females, and especially these black females that I grew up with, rather these pants sagging, do nothing thug ass niggas flexing and flashing guns in their music videos and bumping some Chief Keef or some Lil Reese or even Herb or FGB Duck or whoever else you listen to. They'd rather you bump that. They'd rather you be of that type of mentality as opposed to those young black boys who are in that school in Inglewood who have 100% success rates of graduations. I'm not even trying to down the brother Herb because he's out here giving a motivational speech, and like I said, the man articulates himself better than most of his peers. But the fact remains that you still have an affinity to some degree to that chaotic bullshit. Now, yes, you can argue that you are a product to your environment, but that's to a degree. Because if we go by that logic, then I should be an emotionally detached individual because I grew up with motherfuckers who lack affection and love, including my own mother. My brothers are very emotionally detached. So when people say you're in a product of your environment, that's only to a degree.
Getting like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you can't be asking me for no woods. You got a game tonight, bro. That's gonna be the reason you do it. I'm gonna just be completely honest, man. If this is what you doing or whatever you got going on, you gotta embrace it. I don't know what you up against when you leave school and go home, so but whatever. Yeah.
So you think you can bust me though?
I do agree with Herb on that note, though. There ain't no half-stepping when it comes to you going for your endeavors, and there are a lot of ordeals. I learned that the hard way.
Shit, hell yeah.
Yeah, so look, you got the Tim's on, right? I got the little.
Bro, I'm scared. Look, I will play you.
We can go to the dance. What I'm talking about. You got there, play me. No, play me.
I don't listen to y'all, coach. And y'all got
Say something.
focus,
Straight up.
Like, I understand. In high school, I was the same way, bro. You want to talk to the girls, deal with the females, be fresh, all that, bro. There's not enough hours in the day to do so many things. You know what I'm saying, bro? You gotta really. Like, I ain't saw when niggas when I was 18. I ain't started making millions of dollars on music until I got 20.
Hey, you was right the whole time, huh? I know, I heard it.
I'm gonna be the street. Hey, I'm getting the road. Be like still smoking weed, getting high. Then want to go to the games. Like you an 80-20, but you 60-40. Like you're not gonna make it that way. Well, I'm just being completely honest with you. Like, you gotta focus on whatever you want to do. Like basketball, you want to be a librarian. Your ass better go read some books. Like that's the only way you gonna get where you want to go in life. I'll be a goofy ass nigga if I just sit around and tell you, oh yeah, go and smoke some weed and you want to go to college or you want to go to NBA. I ain't that nigga, bro. I ain't gonna lie. If you was my little brother, you trying to hoop, you can't do none of that shit around me. You feel me? Like, ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you don't get where you want to get in life off doing this, and this. You feel me? You got to do one thing.
Get to where you want to get in life. Herb's right about that shit. But don't end up like Herb where you start wifing up some random broads and some random. Let's keep it real. It's gonna be fucked up to say, but you out here impregnating some thought who does bookings on Instagram. I could screenshot that bitch right now. I'm not gonna shit on Herb's son because he's a little baby. That's not in me to do that to an infant. But as far as your baby mama Ari goes, yeah, you fucked up, bro. So yes, go for what you want. I'm glad that Herb is encouraging the youth to do that, but learn from his mistakes. Smart people learn from their own mistakes. Wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So, even take heed to what Herb is saying, but also look at his life and what he's going through. Because the man even got locked up and had to deal with a assault. Him committing assault. Yeah.
Having a life straight ball. You don't want to quit. You feel me? But as long as you know that's where you want to go, and that's where you definitely. I would love to see one of you niggas on college basketball. You know, be one on the team.
I got a real question. Keep this. What you do when you see one of your niggas acting fool? Like you they switching up. What you do?
I'm asking you. Me? I'm asking you. What would you do?
What you do? Celebrate yourself with somebody that you like been with since day one.
It's hard, but you gotta do it. If you feel like anybody in your life is somebody somebody that's not gonna help you get to the next level, it's your life, bro. You go to jail, you die, you gonna be in that bitch by yourself, not with your homie that you grew up with 10, 20 years. It's your life, bro. People supposed to be able to not talk to you for a whole year, 6 months, and still be like, I still got love. I want to see him get it. So,
Pretty ironic that he made that jail reference. That's crazy that I just brought up him getting locked up because of his baby mama Ari, and he brought that shit up. See? Hey, see how everything comes full circle? Smart people learn from their mistakes, wise people learn from others. Just like I stated.
that's not a hard decision. It's hard. It's like your life. Do you want to get where you want to go, or you want to let somebody keep pulling you back, taking from you? If they love you, they gonna want you to go out and strive and be what you gonna be in life.
All right. Herb's definitely right about that. Anybody who claims to love you is not going to be a setback. They're not going to damage your spirit, your mental health. They're only going to be there to be a supporting beam. They're going to be able to back you up. I get that within my lady. I get that within my crewmates. And I even get that within myself when I meditate from time to time, or I just take time to ruminate on my own personal life. Herb is definitely right on the money when it comes to that. Like I said, Herb, even though he has an affinity for all that ratchetness and that stereotypical hood nigga shit, he does have, a good sense of self-awareness and a head on his shoulders compared to most of his peers, like I stated.
You want somebody to go keep pulling. Oh no, hell no, he ain't gonna make it unless I make it. You gotta separate yourself from people like that anyway. You ask me a question, you supposed to know the answer to. I knew that shit at 15, bro. I ain't let nobody throw me back. It's like, this is what I wanted to do. Like, my main focus was like the streets and, having fun and my homies, and that was what I wanted to do, you know what I'm saying? So when it became a point where I wanted to do something else, that was a decision that I had to make to better my life. And everybody in here had to make that. Everybody in here gonna face them type of decisions, not just because you rap. Anything you do, everybody gonna face them. It could be your sister, somebody that really, you can't let nobody take advantage of you.
Hell no. You definitely can't let no one take advantage of you. Hope I didn't mishear what he said, but that's what I heard. Hope you can't let nobody take advantage of you. I know what that's like growing up. And that's why I started to become more of a skeptic. And I started to just really open up my third eye and just see how I view people in the world. It doesn't mean that there aren't people who aren't trustworthy, but I've learned not to put shit past anybody. On that note.
What you sitting out here for, man?
Alright, that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's my assessment on Herb. Peace out.
This is what we do. And we got this other thing that's also been working for a long time where you don't have to be racist anymore. It's called self-hate. It works on itself. It's like real estate of racism. Where just like that, when someone comes up and says something like, I am a god, everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was, a god. I just told you. That's who I think I am. Would it have been better if I had a song that said, I am a nigga? Or if I had a song that said, I'm a gangster? Or if I had a song that said, I am a pimp? All those colors and patinas fit better on a person like me, right? But to say you are a god, especially when you got shipped over to the country that you're in and your last name is a slave owner's. How could you say that? How could you have that mentality?